All right, it should be good.
Perfect. So I guess we're good to get started. I think
Yeah.
it's 9:02.
Yeah, that's because I don't want to take up any more time. I know it's precious right now. I'm just getting rid of the waiting room.
So anybody have a success story they'd like to share while we're getting our logistics under order here? Anything that's going really well, something that really surprised you about the start of the school year?
We held our first virtual, guest presenter this week. We had the Journey into the Native American Territories program. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. Work with our 7th grade this week. So it was a 2-day program. The first day was a video movie that kids watched. And then today, the presenters are zooming in to the classes to show off the artifacts and then also take questions from the kids.
That's great, Teresa.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked. Fingers crossed. It's one of my veteran teachers who was not comfortable with technology, but we practiced it and he's doing great. So I'm super proud of him.
That's fantastic. And what a great opportunity for the kids. Anybody else have a success story, something really positive about the start of the year that they'd like to share out before Corinne gets us started?
No one quit yet in my school, at least in my department.
That's definitely positive.
I was quite surprised. I'm kidding.
That's great. That's great news.
And we haven't quarantined. We haven't shut down yet, so that's also good news.
Yeah, that's great news. That means we're keeping everybody safe. So that's good.
For now, I mean, there's a few people out sick waiting for their COVID results. So we shall say.
Fingers crossed there. I attended my first virtual open house as a parent this week, or last week, I should say, and that was phenomenal. I really enjoyed that because I was able to make dinner while meeting all of my kids' teachers, and it was fantastic. I think that's something we should definitely hang on to for next year and years to come.
Were the teachers at home Zooming as well?
Depended on the school and depended on the teacher in some cases, but yes.
Yeah, because in our school, we had middle school open house last week. Tonight is high school. The parents are Zooming from home, but the teachers and the admins were here.
Yeah. I guess it depended on their situations at home because some of them were home and some of them weren't. So maybe it was up to them. But I enjoyed that on the parent side of things for sure. Okay, so all right, let's get. I don't have a whole lot of to share just yet because we're kind of in this kind of holding pattern. But I did want to say this date in history, since this is our Social Studies Collegial Circle, that September 24th, excuse me, the U.S. Federal Judiciary Act was passed, creating a 6-person Supreme Court in 1789, and I thought that was very fitting for in honor of Ruth Bader Ginsburg this week. So I did want to share that with you, just because I'm a history geek mostly. So some of the workshops that we've been running, some have been more popular than others, but I just wanted to, kind of remind you of what we have available in case you see, a strong need for this for your teachers in the next couple of weeks. You could always just reach out to us and let us know, but these are some of the things that we've been offering and be happy to continue to offer if you see a need for that in your schools. Starting next week, September 30th, I am hosting a Preparing for the Framework U.S. History Regents. I know that the Regents exams are still a big question mark at this point, but we have to kind of move on with the year, assuming that they are going to take place. So, so if you have any need for any teachers who are unfamiliar with the new Framework Regents, I will be hosting that on September 30th. We also have
Sarah. What time is that workshop?
Sure, that one I think it's in the afternoon, 12 to 3. I was also looking for your feedback today because I know that scheduling right now is difficult for teachers in terms of juggling, what they're doing day to day, and substitutes are not readily available. So I was actually considering moving forward doing that session in 3 1-hour chunks as opposed to a 3-hour chunk. So I was interested in your feedback on that as well.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, and so we weren't really sure in terms of like times of day and days of the week. So I actually did put up a survey on the social studies site that I created to try to get some feedback from you. If you fill that out already, I appreciate it. I just know that all the districts are kind of in different places. So, always open to whatever is going to work best for you guys. We also have Sarah Cordova coming in November. To discuss using mentor text to promote social justice. So that's something that's on my learning plan right now. She's got a couple of different days available in November, if you want to check that out. And then Nancy Lynn is actually hosting, I'm helping her out about honest conversations about race, racism, equity, and schools. This is something that was really, really, really popular in August when we did it. And so we decided to try it out again. A lot of people were interested in participating. So if that's something that you think you or your teachers would be interested in, we are hosting that in October. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but it is on my learning plan. And then moving forward, we kind of wanted to shift our focus to talking about concrete ways to try to embed the social studies practices and aligning the practices with curriculum writing. And we've been talking about doing some crosswalks for uniting the social studies and ELA especially, and science and math curricula. So that's something that we're working on, something that is a project that kind of is in the works at this point. And then if you are not familiar yet, I did create a BOCES website, which I sent out on the listserv as a link if you haven't had a chance to check it out. I'm waiting for it to load, sorry. It is just kind of a way for me to just keep everything in one place. I did put that survey about PDs is here, so if you have a chance to take a second and fill that out, I would appreciate it. I did, some podcasts that I found that were interesting. So just kind of a one-stop place for us to put resources for teachers as well. I know we have the Google Classroom, but that's really more towards, kind of the chairperson and administrative side of things. This is a website that you can share with your teachers. There's a lot of resources for them to use in a lot of different areas. So I also have on here some of our upcoming PDs, which I clearly have to update, and just some general information that I think is valuable for you. And thanks, Jim. And then, as we've been collecting resources for the culturally responsive instruction, that is also available on the classroom and on the site as well. And I know that this is not our ELA group, but just in case we have people here who aren't able to attend, I just wanted to share the Addressing the 2020 Learning Gaps workshop that I put together. It's actually tomorrow is the introduction, but what we're going to do is I'm going to distribute grade level gap assessments for grades 4 to 9, broken up into 3 parts, 2 multiple choice and 1 constructed response question. And I use the priority standards and standards that are kind of assessed most frequently to put those assessments together so that we can kind of get a feel for where our students might have missed some some pieces in the spring of last year. And then it's also going to come with an analysis, and when we're going to come back and after the assessment has been given to the students, we'll take a look at some of the information that we gather from that.
All right, so this is just a reminder of our SEND agreements and our Google Classroom. Corinne, did you want me to go into the Google Classroom really quickly and just show them what we have? So I don't know if I can share my screen if you are. Okay, so if you are in the Google Classroom, if you're new to us, it looks like most of the names that I see there are names that we've had before. But if you are new to the Google Classroom, just let me know and I will get you in here. So Corinne and Virginia and I were able to go to the SCDN meeting on last week on the 17th and the 18th, and they gave us a plethora of resources. So a couple of the things that I have added in last year was this Native Land Digital, which you can click on any area on the map and it gives you an outline of the indigenous people and who lived there during certain times. There's also Young Voices for the Planet, which really allows kids to take some civic responsibility and speak up for themselves. There's a great film series that is award-winning, that is very inspiring to get your kids to go out and take some action. The Kundhart Film Foundation is something for culturally responsive teaching. There are great, again, award-winning films that can be utilized in our upper middle school and high school classrooms to sort of prompt discussions around race and social justice that's happening right now. I also added the Danielson Remote Teaching Guide. It's just a short framework on what we should be looking for in teaching when we're talking about being remote. I added a couple of Google Easy reference tools. This guidebook for students and families that was created by Nancy Lynn is phenomenal. I really suggest that you send this out to your teachers and send it out to parents because she did an amazing job and she said we could share it out. So if you haven't taken a look at that yet, that's really a great one. The other thing that I did was Panorama had put out a survey of 34 questions to ask your teachers and staff about climate. And so what I did was I converted them into a teacher survey as well as a staff survey separately. And what you can do is let me know if you want a copy of it and I'll send it to you and you can edit it in any way that you feel fit. But it's a really great way to get feedback, especially for administrators on how your building is feeling. And although sometimes that can be a challenging thing for us to really face, it is important that we know where we stand in our building and how to improve. So it is a little bit lengthy, but once you have the ability to access it, you can cut it down where you see fit. So just a reminder to keep an eye out in the Google Classroom because I am constantly updating for you. So, I don't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of different resources, but I think it's important to ensure that we're getting information out there and we're putting it in one place so that you guys can have access to it and you don't need to run around all over the place to find it. So any questions? And Corinne, I know I kind of cut you off there, so I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to present.
No, we were getting into your domain at that point, so I was passing the baton. But I do want to just have you remind us of what the code for the Google Classroom is. I know I've typed it out 1,000 times, but I can't remember it.
It's okay. I will pull that up. Sorry, the dead air.
Sorry, silence sometimes is a nice thing.
While we're waiting, since I'm new, can you guys send me any links that you may have?
Yes, that's why I wanted to get you that Google Classroom code. And just so you know, for the Google Classroom, Joe, you have to use a private email. It can't be your school domain email.
Okay.
When you're signing in for the classroom, just because of domain issues. So so when you do that, it's going to have to be from a private Gmail account.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, there we go. So there is the class number. And Seth, I will get you in with your private Gmail. Joe, if you want to just message me, I will just add you in right now, okay, with your personal account.
Okay. I'll send that over to you.
Perfect. So other than that, the floor is yours for discussion. So what's going on? What do you have questions about? What do you need from us going forward? Now your time to reach out to your peers.
Can I do a little bit of advertising while we're on?
Sure, Virginia.
Okay, so if you go to my learning plan under the Western Suffolk BOCES, I designed a few sessions for middle school. So they're starting in October and they're 1 hour sessions. I've decided that I'd probably be able to capture more people if I was able to offer in this during the school day and then after the school day. So I have those options for the teachers. So I didn't know how school schedules would be running. So whichever is more convenient for your teachers, know that that's going to happen. And for those of you who are new, there's a social studies coordinators meeting virtual on November 17th that you can sign up through Western Suffolk BOCES. Okay, and I've invited Corinne and Jessica to assist in that meeting as well so that we can cover as many items from the SCDN meeting that we went to last week, because there were several sessions and we split up so that we were able to capture them all.
What was the date on that coordinator meeting, Virginia?
November 17th,
Okay.
8:30 to 11, the same time we usually do. Okay, the next one that's scheduled is for February, and at this point, that one is a live session. So hopefully we'll get to see each other in person in February.
We didn't get those dates already, or did we? And I just didn't enter them.
We did. Let me just, I have that open. So let me check the dates for you and I'll tell you exactly when they are.
I just put them in the chat box too. So they are in my learning plan, but you can also link directly to my learning plan through the Western Suffolk BOCES site that I created. So you can just scroll down to the social studies coordinators meeting and they're all there. Or if you go to the social studies homepage, they're all listed for you right there. And there's a registration link that you can just click and sign up for them.
Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
thanks, Jess.
No problem. All of Virginia's offerings are also on the Western Suffolk BOCES toolkit as well. It'll take you right to my learning plan.
Okay, and also for those of you out in Eastern Suffolk BOCES or for the teachers who can't make the Western Suffolk BOCES, starting in the winter, probably January forward, Eastern Suffolk BOCES has asked me to offer repeats. So, you know, I'll be covering fall and spring.
I have a question for schools that typically do the National History Day project. What are you thinking of for this year? I mean, I obviously still want to do the project, but are you going to have a fair? Can we have a fair? Are you encouraging kids to maybe not do the typical poster board display and choose a digital project like the movie or the documentary? So anybody, thoughts, ideas?
Yeah, that's a good question, Teresa. We're set to discuss that next week. We're waiting to see what comes from Hofstra to see what the contest is going to look like. I mean, they said it's going to be virtual, but they didn't give any details. And it's part of our honors curriculum, so we're definitely having kids do projects, but we don't know what that's going to look like in terms of competition.
In North Shore, we had been doing it as a full 8th grade. This particular year, we decided not to do the full 8th grade with it. We're continuing to do it through a club, so kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade can sign up for it and participate that way. We're going to try to do like a modified research paper that maybe enters the New York State Archives competition in the spring, just so that way, with the uncertainty of what might happen this school year, we could still do research work, but, you know, kind of push it off to see how far we get and how things go.
Seth, can you send me information about that contest?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
I believe if you go to the New York State Archives website, you'll be able to get all the information concerning that annual contest.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so any other burning questions for the group you are want to throw out there? We know that you have a very packed schedule, so we want to make sure that we utilize this time to make sure you're getting information that you need. We don't want to keep you here with just dead air. Mara, if you're muted if you're talking to us. Maybe not. Maybe she's talking to someone else. There we go.
I'm sorry, I had to mute you guys for a minute, so I may have missed something, but I'm just wondering what other districts are doing regarding assessments, exams in general, and how you formulate your quarter grades. Anybody?
That's a big question as well. So that's something that our teachers are very anxious about, particularly for those students who are fully remote. So we have the hybrid model. I don't know if you all do, or many of you may. And
please stand for the pledge.
Sorry, we have our announcements going on, so I'll do myself in a second. But I'm curious to see how everyone is handling
it. To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
That's a concern here for us as well. It's just kind of coming up now. What are we going to do with remote students in terms of reliability of assessment results?
We just gave our baseline assessments in Roosevelt. We're currently virtual. So we did Google Forms, and we made the assessments a timed assessment. So at the end of the period, we shut off the ability to respond. So that's one way to do it in a virtual environment. But again, there's no way to ensure that the students are not using multiple devices to look up answers, but with the time limit, it would be difficult for them. I teach AP World History, and the College Board, what they did last May, they had the ability to lock down the browser. So if you're using Chromebooks, you can do that as well.
I mean, one of the concerns we have is for those students who get extra time, testing accommodations. So if there's a time, we have a learning management system, Canvas. We're able to, put timed quizzes and all different writing assignments on there, grade on there. But the problem is, there's so many unforeseen or unexpected, issues that keep arising. And I know over time we'll get better at it. And certainly we're just kind of rethinking how we assess. I'm certainly not going to have a, 25 multiple choice and an essay, in one period kind of exams any longer. Breaking it into smaller chunks. And knowing that, we do have some kids full remote, everyone else is every other day hybrid. And we know that when kids test at home, we don't have complete control over what they're doing. And we just kind of have to, unless something blatant happens, just let it go, as they say.
Yeah, Mara, we're pretty much the same way. We've been encouraging our teachers to try and move away from the formal multiple choice type assessments and think about maybe even some project-based assessments if we could get there. But one of the things that we have is Go Guardian in our district. And so like Joe was saying, we can lock down the browser during those timed assessment pieces. We also, what we're asking for teachers, if they're having the students write, is to use Turnitin. I'm sure a lot of you have Turnitin.com, and that's another way. But the reality is, if the kids are gonna cheat. If they're gonna cheat, they're gonna do it. I mean, it's something as teachers we've always had to deal with. So, you know, as long as, like Mara said, it's not blatant and it's not terrible, you know, we have to be a little bit more flexible with the teachers. But one of the things that we are pushing is for them to just rethink what assessment looks like, and maybe do more formative assessments and not as many of these long 40-period tests. That's something that we've been, as a team, you know, admin-wise, working on.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing as Teresa. You know, this is an opportunity, I think, for all of us to really kind of rethink, you know, how we're assessing students. And I think it's a great time to start looking at more project-based learning. You know, unfortunately, you know, these conversations with teachers came up last year. And I almost feel like teachers don't understand what that means, what a project-based assessment is. So there needs to be a little bit of training involved. And I know, you know, Jessica and Corinne, you know, you're telling us you're offering these things, and we need to take advantage of it. But, you know, we're at this point now where we want teachers to go in a slightly different direction, and they're kind of struggling with, you know, in our district, they're live streaming every class. They're, you know, we're trying to implement a new learning management system with Schoology. So they have so many things going on right now that it's tough to ask to do something else. But I agree with Teresa. I think this is a great time to really start thinking about different assessments. And you know, hopefully the state is thinking the same thing. I don't know, Virginia, you might want to chime in here, but has there been any conversation about, you know, maybe the way Regents exams have been done in the past doesn't work in this environment anymore?
Well, that question did come up last week about what are the plans for the Regents, and pretty much the people who we talk to tell us that the decision concerning Regents are made in offices above them. So all they know at this point is that there's a schedule, and who knows what's going to happen. But at the moment, there is a schedule for January and June. So they really can't help us at this point, unfortunately.
Shocking. Sorry.
Hey, they gave us essays to look at for the U.S. history, so that was a good thing. We've been asking for, what, 2 years or something, right? So at least we got that far.
I just don't see how, honestly, they could, in all good conscience, have the students take these Regents exams. I mean, I just don't see it. There's no equity at all right now. There hasn't been equity in years, but now more so than ever in terms of delivery instruction and how students are learning, and to hold teachers and students to a standard that at this point there is none is just, it blows my mind. So I really hope that they think about this and do the right thing. And I don't think they have the money to print all these books and tests and then cancel them. So I think the decision has to be made before that money is spent. And that's what I think.
My apologies, I have to leave. My apologies.
No problem.
Bye, Charles. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Teresa, I think there are thousands of teachers
there's a lot that we're talking
agreeing.
about. Yeah, and there's a ton that we're talking about right now. And I don't know if I am delayed. Am I delayed? Yeah. Okay. I'll just put it in the chat box then. Corinne, I'm gonna switch computers. I'm gonna switch my computer so that I can talk.
To piggyback on Jim's point, with the assessments, I think we've been trying to encourage, it was easier for me to do this in my middle school, was to just writing assessments. And, you could do like a CRQ style assessment, and then, discussion-based assessments to go with project-based. And then if multiple choice is used, just as formative for kids to say, how well do you know this topic so you can go into writing? You know, self-assess yourself with a multiple choice style thing rather than that being an endpoint assessment. So, yeah, because I think the challenge that probably a lot of buildings are facing is you have not a lot of space for accommodations for students of all that. And you're like, how do you manage that when every room, faculty room, nook and cranny of the building is being used to house kids for classes? And then how do you then test and deliver accommodations? And for hybrid plans in the high school, how do you test with half the kids at home, half the kids permanently at home? We tried to set up a folder type system where, for like because the AP secure browser system was really designed to be in the classroom, so that you would have that secure browser while you were in the class, and like you can kind of use it at home. But I know there's still a lot of trepidation from teachers about putting any sort of AP questions out into the public across the digital. But also the secure browser doesn't work if you have like a IB and AP course. So you have questions from both, or you have teacher generated questions to complement the AP questions. You can't really use that secure browser. So we've been just sending virtual parents come and pick up the exams once a week and just have the hard copies and sign some sort of basic like agreement of not to share this, not to post it type thing, just to, you know, use a low tech option to solve this problem, I guess.
I guess it's too early also to hear from the College Board. I can't imagine that they could implement normal AP exams when schools all around the country and the world, you know, are in and out of lockdown, quarantining. So that's probably going to be modified. Would you all agree?
Right, I'm just gonna pop in, and I don't know what was discussed while I was gone, but hopefully you can hear me now that I'm on a different computer. So what I wanted to just hop on what Jim was talking about with the project-based learning and inquiry, and really helping teachers, because they are so overwhelmed with so many different things. I mean, they have to, first of all, learn all of this different technology. They have to get some sort of common language around their learning management systems. Like, we understand that this is a huge undertaking. And, you know, Corinne and I have talked to the group over the summer about, you know, making sure that we're not in that same sort of triage mode that we were in back in the spring, and making sure that we're utilizing this time to transform the way that we're teaching. And, you know, if we are not able to get large groups of teachers to come to these professional developments, we totally understand that. But if you are able to get a handful of teachers that could collaborate and work with one another, around having social studies and ELA work together on units so that teachers aren't planning by themselves, and having them work on projects together, it's only going to make it easier for them. It's only going to make the climate in your school better, because teachers will be opening their doors and speaking with one another more often, which I think is a really positive thing that's come about from all of this, you know, all of these horrible circumstances, is that teachers have really come together and, you know, opened up their doors and shared their practices and been really transparent about what's working and what's not working. So if you're able to get like even 3 or 4 teachers that would be willing to come to some of these, and then we could turnkey it, you know, over to some other teachers. And Corinne and I are very flexible. If you reach out to us and let us know that you want, you know, some sort of PD to happen, we can arrange it to find other districts that are similar to you, that are looking for the same thing, so that we can run it. You know, we are willing to be as accommodating as we need to be in order to get you what you need, because we know that teachers need support right now. So just keep that in the back of your mind, with all of the other 150,000 things that are in the back of your mind. Okay, any other questions to throw out to the group?
I actually have a question to throw out to the group. A question that I get a lot and comes up a lot is about accommodations for students like test read. Has anybody come up with any sort of fantastic method for for that, allowing students to get those accommodations if they're working remotely?
Well, we started using Schoology as our management system, and there's not a great text to read feature on it. It doesn't really work well. So what teachers are doing are actually video recording themselves, reading passages, reading text, reading whatever needs to be read, and just sending it, that way. And Schoology has a feature where you could do video or just audio. So depending on how comfortable they feel, being on camera, some of them are just doing audio, but that's how we're handling it. Just teachers reading it, or if there's a co-teacher or someone else in the room that can do it, they're setting that up, just videos, sending them out.
So then the students are listening to those videos on their own, at their own pace, their own time. Okay.
Correct.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we've had that similar type thing without Schoology, using Google Classroom and just keeping the kids in the classroom for test read, having them wear headsets, and then doing a recording on Screencastify of the test and posting that in Classroom. So when the kid takes the test, they can go right on, click it, and listen to it and not distract the other kids, because having the space for accommodations and other things, it's, I think our special ed people have kind of indicated there's some flexibility, but you're trying to do your best to do that in a reasonable circumstances.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I just have a quick question / suggestion. Wondering about these BOCES workshops. We're having a really hard time getting substitute teachers in, which I know most districts are experiencing right now. Is there just a thought, since most teachers have some sort of a approximately 40-minute prep, is there any way to break out a workshop, maybe make it a week long, 40 minutes a day, to try and help schools kind of rearrange things around a prep period?
Nicole, we're having the similar problem here. All of our common preps were wiped out. And, even at the elementary level, we had to take all of our professional development and divide it up into half-hour, 40-minute time slots and spread them out during that morning period. We had to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and or pre-recorded, which isn't, it's obviously not as ideal pre-recorded, but I just know, we're all wanting to take advantage of these amazing offerings, but just having a really hard time getting coverage for teachers.
There are no subs.
So what about doing a webinar type of, like you said, a recorded session where they can log on whenever they get a chance. We make them 40, 45 minutes long. Okay. The downside of that is that they don't get to ask questions, but we could always maybe do a follow-up at some point, have some sort of maybe, quick meeting, or just figure out a way that we could all get together to address any questions that come up. That's definitely something that's doable.
Well, if you do the webinars live, and some teachers could participate, and then, others that could, venture in at another time, and if you rotate the times, obviously we'll get different teachers.
Right.
That could be really helpful. Yeah, because getting coverage and, just getting the building admins who will allow teachers, even though they're Zooming for virtual PD, to even consider letting them do anything. It's like trying to get blood from a stone.
Yeah, we felt the same way too. We lost the conversation part of it, but what we've been doing after some of the recorded professional development is we've been having the participants fill out a Padlet. And it's been really good in terms of keeping the conversation going and just like answering questions. We did a professional development last week, and the Padlet is actually still being added to every day from last week. So it kind of is a good way to keep the conversation going for those recorded professional development videos.
Sorry about that. I stepped out for a second. My daughter has to be picked up from school, of course. So I think either a self-paced or recorded workshops, if that's going to be something that you guys can get the most bang for your buck, it's definitely worth the time putting that together. In the spring, I had put together like a self-paced workshop on Google Classroom for the Regents exam. I don't know if any of your teachers were a part of that, but the feedback was that it worked out well. So if we could kind of design similarly structured workshops for other topics, I'd be happy to do that.
I don't want to be a negative Nancy here, but I think that although I think that offering those are amazing, when we're talking about things like inquiry and the inquiry process and changing the way that we think about assessment, it's really difficult to do that without engaging with a live person going through that process. So I think that we could definitely run a couple, but I don't think they'll have as much impact on instruction. And this is coming from, I know that teachers were taking hundreds of hour-long, PDs over the summer and in the spring. And I just don't know how much of that really stuck. So I want to make sure that what we're doing is really going to be sustainable. And I know that you're probably having great success in your districts with having it stick because they're able to talk to one another about what they're doing. And so my worry is that if we offer something like that online, if we don't have people that are from the same building, that those conversations won't live. They'll sort of just fall flat in the Zoom world. But we're more than happy to offer them. It's just about a matter of how sustainable is that going to be and how much of an impact is that really going to have in teaching and learning. And if we're asking people to not utilize their prep to prepare for their classes to come to a PD, are they going to see the value in that?
I mean, one suggestion I might make is maybe doing something, right after school hours, 3:30 to 4:30. It won't cut into the day. We won't need subs. Teachers are still kind of in work mode. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I said double offerings up, a morning one and an afternoon session on the same date, because I wasn't sure what the schools would be doing. My only fear was that since it was after school hours, I didn't know how many people would be still attracted to it. So, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. And just trying to figure out what's going to work for everybody is the major issue.
Variety is the spice of life, Virginia.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 15 minutes out. So any other questions that we want to throw out to the group before I give you my my heartfelt gratitude for all that you...
Okay, before you get all mushy on us, we need to know how often we want to continue with these meetings, because it's been a little bit of time since we met. Do we want to continue to space them out over, a couple of weeks? Do like a once a monther? So your feedback and then hopefully that this time slot worked. I mean, this is the most people I've seen in a Zoom room in months, so that's a good thing. But I want to make sure that it's convenient for everybody.
I think my vote would be once a month.
I'm with Nicole. Once a month is good.
I think once a month works.
And I want to give you my thanks too. You guys have been a great resource, really.
Yeah, the Google Classroom, I check it all the time. And all the stuff that you guys posted about the culturally responsive classroom, thank you for that, because we're using that, within our district. So I appreciate all that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that means a lot. We know how much you are doing on a daily basis and how difficult it is for all of you to, get things done in these difficult times. So we want to make it as easy for you as possible. And we want to ensure that anything that you need that we can offer you, we are truly here to serve you in your time of need. and to help you and help your teachers in any way possible. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and creating a community that allows us to collaborate and support one another. Corinne and I could not do this without you. And so we really appreciate everything that you and your districts are doing to keep education running across the island for our kids and close these gaps and make it as equitable as possible. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And we look forward to continuing working with you. And if you need anything from us at all, do not hesitate to send us an email because that's what makes us happy, being able to help you. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your 3-day weekend. Please get some rest and relaxation and take care of yourselves. Okay?